My guest tonight, author and Master of Divinity Erwin McManus, has spoken in over 60 countries and is about to talk about his upcoming title, The Way of the Warrior. Do not click away.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's going on, everybody? How's it going? I am here with Erwin McManus. Erwin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight.
I am so excited about being here with you.
I'm very excited too. You guys, this book, The Way of the Warrior, is geared toward expanding one's capacity and living at the highest potential through creativity, innovation, and character. I'm very excited to talk to you about this book. First off, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I'm from El Salvador. I was born in San Salvador. I came here as a kid, learned English as my second language, and moved around a lot. My mom married a guy who was involved in what we called creative underground economies, so we had a really interesting upbringing. And I went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, studied psychology and philosophy. Then I went on to study theology and divinity and have a study in humanities. So that's kind of been my journey.
Okay.
And I've worked a lot of my life as a futurist. I worked as an artist, a fashion designer, filmmaker, writer. And I started a church in Hollywood called Mosaic.
Oh my gosh, you've done everything. You're continuing to do everything. That's very inspirational. Why did you decide to become a writer?
I love writing. Probably if I go back to my earliest memories, I always wanted to be a writer. I was a straight D student, first through 12th grade. I was a really pretty traumatized kid. I was in a psychiatric chair by the time I was 12 years old, in and out of a hospital. So I spent a lot of my life living in an imaginary world. I found writers like Robert Heinlein and Andre Norton and Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury. And so science fiction became my way of escape. And I just learned early on that if I, that the stories that you absorb become a part of who you are. And I always wanted to be a storyteller. But a part of what my intention is, I love writing stories. I love writing books that help people discover who they are and to begin to awaken the heroic inside of them.
Why this title? Why The Way of the Warrior?
Well, the book deals a lot with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, stress, fear. And I wanted people to know that if you're struggling in your inner world, it doesn't make you a coward. It doesn't mean that you're deficient or broken. It means that you're a warrior because you're fighting the most important battle of your life. I think all of us are struggling for inner peace, but we're afraid to admit that we're a mess.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use heroic language. And what really struck me was I was driving down Hollywood, down Vine, and I heard this inner voice tell me, the warrior's not ready for battle until they have come to know peace. This is the way of the warrior. And that really is what inspired the book. I love movies like The Seven Samurai, the Magnificent Seven. I love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I love the movie Hero. I love Asian heroic stories of how the older samurai teaches the young samurai. And I wanted to take that kind of posture. I wrote this book as if an old samurai is writing to a young samurai, teaching them the way of the warrior so that you're not a person of violence, but you're a person of peace.
Yeah. I mean, living in LA, I could definitely talk about panic attacks. Anybody driving down Hollywood and Vine, as you said, would suffer a panic attack.
And you see
Traffic
it
alone.
everywhere. All the rage and anger.
Yes.
You see people are living in this internal chaos. And I wanted to address that and say, look, the reason we have a world that's raging with wars is that our inner world is raging with wars. And we will never have world peace until we have inner peace.
Let's start with the easy question. What was the easiest part about writing this book?
Well, the easiest part of writing this book is the human part of it. I just took an inner journey to deal with my own times of struggling with depression, my own times of feeling paralyzed by fear, inadequacy, insignificance. And it was also the most difficult part. This book cost me a lot because I really try to help people understand that if you're going to be a storyteller that changes people's lives, you can't just remember your story. You have to relive your story. And so I had to go back and deal with some of the deeper issues of my own pain and insignificance and struggles. And I feel like it was the easiest thing to make it human. It was the most difficult thing for me to.
I was going to ask you, because of everything that you went through in your childhood and having written this book, were you worried that it wouldn't be received well? Were you nervous? Were you scared that it wouldn't be received well because it's so personal to you?
Well, the book surprised me because whenever I start writing, I don't really know necessarily where I'm going. I know that there's a universe I'm going to explore. And so as I wrote the book in 8 different codes.
Oh, wow.
And the last code is the warrior stands in their pain. And I talked about having had cancer just a little over 2 years ago and not knowing whether I would live and finding 5 of the 8 biopsies discovering stage 4, stage 5 cancer, and really dealing with my wife and kids, and not knowing if it was the end of my story. And one of the things that really it just struck me was how I never struggled with fear through it. I never struggled with bitterness or anger. And I realized the reason I did not was because most of us are afraid of dying because we're actually afraid of living. And what we consider the fear of death is actually our own regret. And I could look back on my life and know I'm an immigrant from El Salvador who never knew his real father, who was in a country where he was an outsider, an alien, and a stranger, and I've lived the life of my dreams. I've traveled to over 60 countries around the world. I've seen the most beautiful and extraordinary places. I've walked in the most dangerous streets in the world, from Damascus, Syria, to Istanbul, Turkey, and I've lived this extraordinary life. And so when I thought this might be the end of my life, I didn't have a sense of regret. And so I think a huge part of it for me is I want people to stop needing to think they're dying to begin to live. I want to create that sense of urgency now, so that if you're 25, you're still living the life that you want to remember.
Yeah. In terms of not leaving our viewers on the edge of their seats, remission?
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I had 6.5 hours of surgery.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be 2 hours, but it was more complicated than they thought. And just a few months ago, maybe about a month ago, they told me I was completely cancer-free.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. And I always tell people, I said, I am cancer-free, but I was always cancer-free because cancer never had power over my life.
I love that. I love that. It's funny, my guest, not that we're here to talk about my next guest, but my next guest is also a cancer survivor. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Who is this book for? You wrote this book for a specific person in mind. Who did you write it for?
Right. Well, I have a son named Aaron who's 30, a daughter, Maria, who's 27. And I'd say first I wrote it for them because I wanted to pass on to them the things that I've learned in my life that allows me to have inner peace in the midst of all the chaos and turmoil and uncertainty in the world. And then on a broader scale, I wrote it for the thousands of people I interact with here in LA. I mean, I've been here in LA for 30 years, and our community at Mosaic, we have thousands of 20-year-olds, millennials in our community who are so attractive, so beautiful, so intelligent, so gifted. They're what everyone aspires to be, and they're so fragile, and they're so broken, and they're struggling with so much depression, and they're having suicidal thoughts, and they're on medication for panic attacks. I wrote it for them, for the thousands of people that I wish I could spend one-on-one time and mentor them and sit down with them and take them through the process of healing. And then I wrote it for anyone in the world who would be at this intersection of their life going, I don't know how to win this battle inside of myself, but I need some help. And to me, a book is a way I can sit down with someone one-on-one and say, I got you, I can help you through this process.
How long did it take you to write the book?
60 years.
That's a very good answer. I love that answer. When you were writing it, and after you've written it, did it come out the way that you've envisioned?
It came out better than I envisioned.
Good.
I mean, it's a weird thing to talk about something you've created. Because I think of writing as a work of art. Every word matters. Every word to me has meaning, and even the sentences to me have syncopation. I think there's music behind it, and so even when a sentence has 5 words or 7 words or 8 words or 10 words, that actually matters to me, because words are a beautiful way of exploding images inside of a person's soul, and so I think writing is an art form, and we need to reclaim it as an art form. Yeah. And that for me is one of the things I just love so much.
Well, the book is out now. I have it right here. Speaking about images, this cover is amazing.
Oh, thanks so much.
I want to talk about it a little bit because it's black and white. Did you have a vision of why this cover?
Yeah, my son, Erwin McManus, is the creative director of all the covers of my books.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he envisioned it. We went out to, I think, Point Doom, and early in the morning, he made me wake up super early where I looked like I'd been trashed, for a week. And
I think you look great.
No. And one of my friends designed the jacket, Jerry Lorenzo.
Oh, wow.
And I designed the shirt. And so I was really careful about the way we put it together. And my son said, grow your beard out, because, we want it to feel like this old samurai. And my wife was looking at me saying, you look so old. and I said, I own my age.
Yes.
Every wrinkle I worked for, I earned it. Every scar, it's part of my story. I don't have tattoos, I have scars and wrinkles.
I love it. I think you look ruggedly handsome. You're serving me like a Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this photo. I think that's his name. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think that's his name.
Oh, you're talking about the Walking Dead?
Yes. For The Walking Dead.
I know. I am Negan.
Yes.
I
hope not.
I am Negan if he was actually if he had a redemptive journey.
Yes.
And met Jesus along the way.
There you go. So the book is out. The book is out now. Where is it available? Where can people get it?
You can go to Barnes and Nobles. You can go to Amazon.com, or any bookstore in America would have it. Or you can go to my website, ErwinMcManus.com, and you can just link right there, and they'll send you not only to this book, but the last book called The Last Arrow, or The Artisan Soul, or the 9 other books I've written.
I do want to put this in very quickly. You are a pastor.
I am.
You are a pastor of a church, Mosaic, here in Los Angeles.
Right on Hollywood Boulevard in La Brea.
That's amazing. How is that? How is that growing you as an individual?
I love it. I mean, one of the things about Hollywood is that it's the epicenter of human creativity. And I just wanted, I wanted to be in a place where the whole world is informed by it. What we imagine, we create. And our imagination is informed by the health of our soul. So if we're filled with greed or anger or bitterness or whatever it is, we create that kind of world. So the reason I went to Hollywood was because if I can infuse hope and joy and love and compassion and generosity and faith into the soul of people, imagine what kind of world we will all create together.
I love that. We definitely need more people like you in the world, Erwin.
Hey, thank you so much.
Where can people find you? Where can they keep up with you?
I would go to ErwinMcManus.com.
Okay.
And then you can link up to Mosaic there, and you can link up to my books, and we do a lot of short films, and we create a lot of products that are for free. They're just gifts to people. You can actually dive into a deeper study for every chapter, every quote in the book. I do these behind-the-scenes conversations, what inspired the chapter.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
The Way of the Warrior by Erwin McManus, everybody. Pick it up. It's got 56 5-star reviews on Amazon. I looked that up before I got here. Congratulations. You should be very proud of yourself. Thank you so much. Everybody goes off Yelp and Amazon now. So, guys, pick it up. Amazon, on his website, anywhere you can. If you really want to be the best you that you can be, give this book a read. Erwin, thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, guys. I am Timothy Michael. You can find me everywhere at I am Timothy Mike. We will see you guys next time.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.